So you probably just got your real estate license. First off, congratulations. Or you've been in the business a little bit and you're looking to start prospecting. I'm going to give you my 2 cents on which is better, door knocking or cold calling. Stay tuned. So again, congratulations for getting your license, or if you're looking to start prospecting, also congratulations because it is imperative to your real estate business. And when it comes to cold calling or door knocking, the best news is they're pretty low barrier of entries for both of them. At least you can get started basically immediately. I want to dive into cold calling first. I was a huge fan of cold calling growing up, and it has really helped my business. Number one, very low barrier of entry. Very simple, very duplicatable. You can basically jump on a dialer and within the next 30 minutes after buying it, and you can just rock and roll. You can get a ton of free scripts online. You can cover a lot of ground very quickly. With door knocking, it's a little bit harder to cover as much ground, make as many contacts as you can. When you're cold calling, you just need a script in front of you, put your feet up, and you can have a cup of coffee, and you can relax in your air-conditioned office. Now let's talk about the cons of cold calling. I can give you plenty of examples of people who gave me the most ridiculous responses. Think about how many times you actually pick up a 1-800 number or a spam call these days. Most people are not answering those kinds of calls. So your pickup rate definitely will not be what it used to be in this business. However, my team and I still cold call just about every single day. And I can tell you from experience that it does work. You can cover a lot of ground, but the point is, these people are not answering the phone as much, so your pickup rate's not that great. On top of that, when people do answer the phone, you are going to get people who are not super thrilled with you being on the phone, cold calling them. I'm on the do not call list. How dare you possibly think that I was selling my home? And you're like, I was just asking a question, but okay, next. Also, a quick con with cold calling, it does take startup capital. You need money to start cold calling. And listen, it's not a lot. We're talking $50, $100, $200 a month possibly. These things are not super expensive, but it does cost money. All right, now let's flip it over to door knocking. The few dozen times I went door knocking, I ended up picking up a few deals, but again, I've done that through cold calling as well. So I want you to know that you can be successful doing either. When it comes to door knocking, a big part of it is that you become sort of locally known in that neighborhood because people get to see your face. And by them seeing you face to face, you're actually able to set appointments basically immediately where you can just go right into their house the second you see them, especially if they're super motivated. Being face to face with people is a different experience. When you're cold calling, like we've talked about before, it's a little bit different because people most likely will not be super excited to see or to hear you. The same thing can happen in door knocking, but when you're face to face with people, the odds of them really slamming a door in your face or really being super upset with you is obviously minimalized because people are typically fairly happy, even though I could give you dozens of examples where I had some pretty interesting experiences to say the least. Speaking of interesting experiences, I can give you this. When you are door knocking, be prepared. Just the same thing as cold calling, but be prepared for crazy reactions and how these people respond to you being at their doorstep trying to sell their home, basically. Most of the time, you're going to have people who are fairly okay with you being there, more often than cold calling, to be honest with you. Because again, when you're face to face, people are going to act a little bit differently. Also, when you're door knocking, you got to understand it's very weather permitting. And it's not so easy to just say, oh, I can't cold call today because you can legitimately do it anywhere at any time. But when you're door knocking, if it's not sunny outside or, at least decent weather, you're not going to go do it. I've had people do it in the rain. And honestly, they get pretty good responses because they got an umbrella. People feel bad for them. So sometimes being in the rain or in the not so good weather can actually help you. On top of that, it is very labor intensive. If you're not ready to walk a couple miles every single day for quite some time, you might not want to do it. The last part that I wanted to point out, when you're cold calling, okay, you get to have your script. You can have your script right in front of you, you can read it off the piece of paper. But if you're at a door and you're face to face with the seller, it's a little bit harder to go, hi, blank. Yeah, this is Henry with EXP Realty.
Good afternoon. My name is Russell. Are you in need of any assistance today, sir?
No.
It's probably not going to go that great. You got to understand it's a little bit harder to read your script when you're door knocking. When you're cold calling, it doesn't really matter because you can sit like this with your script in front of you. I'm telling you, if you're not very scripted, it's going to not be that great of an experience when you're door knocking. So you got to practice your scripts. You got to work with people beforehand. Practice on other people. Practice on your parents, your friends, or whatever. Because if you just go to a door for the very first time and you just try to practice on somebody, it's probably not going to go that well. In any case, let me give you my verdict. I'm a huge fan, might be a little bit biased, I love cold calling. It changed my career drastically. I can cover 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 800, 1,000 contacts a day between a pretty small sales team. And I'm talking contacts. I'm not talking conversations, or I'm not talking dials. Dials, you could do 1,000 in a matter of a few hours. Nonetheless, well, you could do it in a whole day with a whole sales team. So it is insane the growth that you could have when you're cold calling as fast as you can have it. On top of that, listen, I like being at the office. I like being able to be super comfortable, AC, got my cup of coffee, possibly my feet up, and I just get to rip through the Mojo dialer. It's just simple. It's just easy, and again, I can cover a lot of ground. Both work. It's just the effort you want to put into it. I know millionaire real estate agents that have done both throughout their careers. I want you to know they both work. It's just about your effort, people. If you're not willing to put in the work, you're not going to be successful at each. It's not like one of them is the golden goose and the other one is terrible. I would do this. Try both. Do both. See which your personality shines through on. Some of you are going to be built for cold calling. Some of you are not. Some of you are going to be built for door knocking. Some of you are not. But the point is, if you do neither, you're not going to grow in this business. And especially if you are brand new in this business, I assure you, there is no way, shape, and form you're going to see massive levels of success unless if you're doing one of two things. Either prospecting, whether over the phone or face-to-face with, like through door knocking, or you're a master networker. And most of the time, at the very beginning of your career, you're not doing as much networking as you possibly should be. So I urge you, especially if you're at the beginning of your career, you need to take the time right now to go out and door knock, go out and prospect, and let's just make this the best year yet. I hope this video helps, and I'll see you next time.